Okay, so here we go with the transformation and robot mode of Masterpiece Grimlock here. Before we actually get into that though, I wanted to do a quick little size comparison while we got him here in his alt mode. So I'm going to go ahead and bring in my old beat up G1 Grimlock here and just kind of put that right next to him. And let's just kind of pan on down there. So there you go, there's G1 Grimlock standing there next to the Masterpiece version, so you can kind of get a sense there of the actual size of this guy. He's roughly about 2 times the size, or 2 times the height of the original Grimlock here. So he's just right about, or just a little bit above his dinosaur legs there in his alt mode. So yeah, if you were to kind of just stack it up there, he's about 2 times as tall as this guy here. But and you can kind of tell there they did a pretty good representation of him in the Masterpiece mold there that has all the traits of Grimlock, and I think it looks a little more show accurate obviously than the original Grimlock. And one other thing I wanted to touch on before we get started here with the transformation, I forgot to mention this here in his alt mode. If you look here at his head, open up his mouth, he has a little like flamethrower in there right there. So I think I remember that was showed on the actual cartoon series where, you know, he would shoot out his flames. You'd actually see the little flamethrower in there inside his mouth. So that's a nice little touch that they did there. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get into the actual transformation of this guy. So let's get old school Grimlock out of the way. And let's kind of pan out here a bit. Okay, to get started transforming this guy, you're going to want to do is his legs / tail first. And the way this guy transforms is pretty much the same as, or very similar to, the original G1 version. You'll kind of see that as we go through here. But the main difference in this Masterpiece version is how they did his legs here and how they hide the tail in here. It actually folds up inside his legs as opposed to the old school where it just kind of would rotate out and sit on the outside of his legs. So let's go ahead and get started with that. So what you're going to want to do first is just split his tail here in the rear. So just take that and split it apart. Just kind of get in there with your hands or fingers and just pull that apart like so. And then you're going to want to split these legs apart here, so just kind of do that. I already kind of got them a little loosened up, I don't want to have to fight with this guy. And then I find it best to just kind of turn them over here like this. Let's kind of pan up here. And what you're going to want to do is pull these apart. And if you just kind of rotate that, you can see right here is his knee joint. What you want to do is kind of rotate this like so. And let's kind of pivot that out there, and then this whole outer part here is like, it's like on a little pivot point, and that'll just kind of loosen up here. Let's see, and that should rotate out of the way like so. See that there? That's like on a little assembly. In this panel here, you just want to bring it forward and hold it into place, and then rotate it down, and there's a little post right on here, and it goes in this little hole right there. So just hold that in until it kind of slides in there, and then you just bring this up like so and fold this little piece in like that. And you're going to want to kind of, before we do that though, let's straighten that out, and then just kind of straighten out his knee there, and then let's rotate this around so you can see that. So yeah, so after you get that piece in there, again you just want to swing this forward, and you can see how it matches the contour of his tail there and just kind of fits in there. I really wish they would have had a little peg in here and maybe a hole in here so this could like actually snap in and hold it in, because it does kind of want to pop out a little bit when you're moving them around or transforming them. So I think that would have been nice. And then the next step would be to take this little piece here and just rotate it in like that so it's flat, and that's going to kind of form the bottom of his foot. So there you go, you got one leg done. And then just do the same thing on the other side. So just kind of pull these out. Let's get this whole assembly here kind of out of the way. Straighten out his knees. And then you just want to pull that back, rotate it in, and move his tail up into place. And just bring that little end piece in and flatten this part out here like so. And there you go. So you can see what I'm kind of talking about there. I wish they would have had something to secure that in, because when you're kind of moving around, your hand kind of wants to kind of grab that and kind of move it a little bit. But there he is there. His feet and his legs are done pretty much. So he's kind of top heavy at this point. And the rest of him is, again, very similar to the original Grimlock. So what you're going to want to do is kind of get his arms down here. And what you want to do is split this shell, which forms the chest of the dinosaur here, and just kind of pull that apart. Let's see if I can get my hand in there. Like that. And you just flip his head back, and that'll reveal his robotic head. Whoops, it's kind of catching here on his shoulders. Let's get those out of the way. There you go. So yeah, you got his chest and his robot head right there. Just kind of get those back and out of the way. And again, this part here is similar to the G1 version. It's just going to rotate up and kind of lock into place like that. But what they did different is this whole waist assembly here will slide up into his chest. So you want to put this up first, like that. And so you can see how long and lanky is there. That's going to slide up, and when you do that, it's going to reveal an Autobot symbol here. So just kind of shove that up, and you can see there's the Autobot symbol that pops up. So let's kind of just do that again. See? So that's his chest right there and his torso. And again, another similar feature to the G1 is his waist here, or hips. You just want to kind of line these up till they're horizontal and then fold that part back down. So again, very similar in transformation to his original G1 version. Let's turn them around here in the back side. And you just kind of want to rotate these up. They kind of rotate up like so. And just kind of tuck in his little dinosaur arms out of the way there. Just however you want. I just kind of do them something like that. Just so they're kind of out of the way. And then his dinosaur head, you want to rotate it till it's in this position here, and you just flatten it out like that. And there's a little like hole here on the top of his head that's going to peg into this little post right here. So just kind of rotate that down, kind of lock it in. It doesn't really sit in there very secure. It's pretty easy to pop out. I wish they would have made it a little bit deeper, that hole possibly, to really hold it in place and snap it in. And then finally what you're going to want to do is his little hands here, which are inside these little compartments here. And to get at those, basically you just flip these panels open here like that and just kind of get these guys out. They can be a little tough to get out. You got to kind of get in there and just kind of rotate them out so you can get your finger on it like so. And just close it back up and do the same on this side here. That one actually came out a little easier this time. And with that, you pretty much have him in his robot mode there. Just kind of pull his head up a bit. Oops, and there you kind of saw one of his little gimmicks there a little early. So there you go. That's him in his robot mode. Let's kind of line him up there. And let's kind of zoom in here and take a look at the detail of him now in his robot mode. So yeah, I think they did a really good job here in his robot mode. I also like the head sculpt here of his robot head. And there's the clear chest piece with the little robotic parts that I talked about earlier. I like the little Autobot symbol in there. It's nice and shiny gold, chromed out. Just pan on down. All these again are like little paint apps. If they're not painted on, it's colored plastic. And there's his legs, which we kind of saw earlier when we were looking at his alt mode. And there's his hands and arms up in there. So yeah, I think they did a really good job here with his robot mode. I think he looks very show accurate here in his robot mode, a lot more so than his G1 self. Obviously, it's a Masterpiece figure, so you would expect that. As far as articulation goes, pretty much the legs here don't really change much, or arms, the legs slash arms here. So again, they're on a ball joint, you can rotate it around here. It bends up and down here. This is actually ratcheted right in here. It's kind of not a great deal of range of motion to it, and you can rotate there. The hands or fists here rotate around like so, and they can open and close here. On this hand here is actually different than the right hand. This part opens and there's like a little trigger finger, and the thumb here is on a little ball joint. This hand here doesn't have any opening to it. It's just a fist with a hole in it, but there is a little thumb. Just gonna get that on the camera there. There is a little thumb joint here that's on another little ball joint. So that's a difference, and I'll get to that when we look at the gimmicks. His legs here, they can rotate like that at the hip. They can bend here at the knees. They're ratcheted, so they're kind of stiff. The feet kind of pivot here a little bit, like on a little ball joint or something like that. I think you can bend these rotate right in here like so. And see, this is the problem with this guy here. See, he's kind of coming apart on me here. And that has to do with his gimmick from his alt mode. It makes him rather floppy here in his chest and torso area, which again, I think they should have got rid of that gimmick and made him more secure and sturdy. I think that would have been better than having the lame tail gimmick there. You know, I mean, do you really care if his tail wiggles a little bit or his head wiggles when you move the tail? I'd much rather have this be secure, not flop around. You can kind of see there it's kind of wobbly and loose. So yeah, it kind of wants to lean a little bit too. And that's probably only going to get worse with time with this figure. So if you fiddle with him much, he's probably going to end up a little floppy on you over time. And the head here is on a little ball joint, and that pivots around like so. Okay, now let's talk about his gimmicks. Basically, he only has a couple gimmicks here in his robot mode. The one gimmick is he does have can change the color of his eyes again on his robot head there. And basically what it is, there's a little tab right here. You can see that little red dot. That's a little tab there. And if you just pull that down, in this case, you'll change from red to blue. And let's kind of hold that there and just kind of push it down. Whoops. Try not to cover it up there. Let's pan up here a little bit. But if you just kind of push that down, you can see that's going to change his eyes from red to blue. It just pulls up a little piece of plastic. So now he's got the blue eyes. And the other gimmick here is in his right arm. And there's a little panel back here on the back of his shoulder, and if you press it in, there's some batteries in here, and that's going to light up a little red LED here inside his fist. That's why this fist doesn't actually open and close. So if you press that, there you go, you can see that red LED. And what that's going to do for you is when you put in his accessories here, they're going to light up. So if he's got his sword here in his hand like so, and I press that, you can see there it's going to light up that clear plastic part of his sword. And the same thing here with his blaster. If you put that in there, let's kind of get this on the camera there. You can kind of see it there. This one doesn't quite light up as well as the sword, obviously. But yeah, it's basically light piping in both of these weapons here, his sword and his blaster. And as far as his other accessory goes, that's just his little crown, which you can just pop right on his head like this. So he's got his little pimped out crown. So yeah, that's pretty much it there as far as his robot mode and transformation goes. I'm going to wrap up things here with a look at, or my final thoughts actually, on this figure.